So it looks like the Samsung Galaxy S23s actually ended up coming out, and I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of moving pieces here with a lot of people kind of upset about Samsung. Now, I want to say my first thing, I think Samsung, great phones. I love Samsung a lot. I've actually already pre-ordered all of the S23s. But the problem, in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I would kind of say the Samsung Galaxy S23 is a little weird, is mostly because, for one, and not limited to, I feel like in this specific event, they spent way too much time really focusing on the camera. I feel like the cameras of all of their phones already are so good, and I feel like Samsung has a lot of room for improvement, especially with the Galaxy S23, because there were improvements in other areas. But I feel like with Samsung really hitting on that camera, to the average person, I already feel like a lot of the phone cameras nowadays are already great, and it's not just limited to Samsung. I feel like Apple does this way too often as well, almost focusing way too much on the camera and getting us all hyped up for it, but then the camera isn't really that much big of a difference than the previous generation. I feel like the S23s bring a really solid device, and the camera I feel like is already great on the S22. I'm glad they're updating it, but to the average person, I would probably say that there are many other areas they can improve on and focus on, and even highlight in their keynote, like the increase in battery size from the smaller two models. That is a really big thing. Now, another thing I want to state, I'm glad that the battery sizes are bigger on the S23 and S23 Plus. I find it very weird that Samsung still has been keeping that 5000 mAh battery, which is great, but I feel like there should be improvement there as well. It's almost like everyone would get mad if Samsung were to go ahead and keep the same camera for like 3 or 4 generations, but when the battery life is the same, these phone manufacturers don't really think about it. It's kind of like an afterthought, when in reality they should be increasing the sizes. Now, another thing I do want to, hit on as well, it looks like a lot of people are upset about the trade-in values of the new Samsung, especially with the S23 Ultra in mind. I feel like that is another area, like a lot of people are upset about it. And personally, I feel like this is a really, really interesting thing, because notoriously every time Samsung makes a new phone, a lot of people hype up the trade-in values. And now it's looking like the trade-in values aren't as high as they used to be. I'm not too sure what is going on here. I feel like Samsung could bring in a decent one, but it looks like a lot of people who are wanting to upgrade, the trade-in deals aren't really as great as they used to be. Now, finally, the last thing I want to hit on with the Galaxy S23 is that Samsung didn't really they spent a little bit of time talking about that new chipset, but in my opinion, this is probably the biggest difference. They could have highlighted the whole keynote, or at least a majority of it, with this chipset. It's always the camera first and the chipset after. That Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset is, in my opinion, from what a lot of people have stated, a massive improvement coming from last year's chipset. So with the S22, although I had a great time with it, a lot of people didn't because of battery life issues and just, it's not really that optimized. The 8 Gen 2 should theoretically be way better. And it looks like, Samsung spent a bit of time talking about it, but not as much as they should, in my opinion. So those are some of the reasons why the S23, at least with the event, was a little weird yesterday. If you have any thoughts or agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.